Israel's military campaign against Hamas in Gaza could be wrapped up in a matter of weeks. The IDF's campaign against Hezbollah, though, may just be getting started. Now, whenever you talk about conflict or wars in the Middle East, it's always hard to boil down thousands of years worth of history into a news story. So let's just focus on some of the more recent events which have led us to this moment. Back on October 8th of last year, a day after Hamas terrorists swarmed southern Israel, killed hundreds and kidnapped dozens, Hezbollah increased its daily barrage of rocket, missile, and mortar strikes on northern Israel. Hezbollah said it was meant as a signal of solidarity with Hamas, their fellow Iranian-backed brothers in arms. Because of those strikes, thousands of people were evacuated from the north of Israel, forced out of their homes for months now. Hezbollah's barrages also ignited wildfires which scorched fields and homes. Israel usually responds with targeted strikes against Hezbollah's weapons caches, command posts, and when they know the location, Hezbollah's leadership.
Look, this is a dynamic that could result in the end of the day, a massive burst, spinning out of control.
Avi Melamed is a former Israeli intelligence officer and was a negotiator during the First and Second Intifadas. Now he's a political advisor and author. He says neither Israel nor Hezbollah really want an all-out war right now, but both sides are bracing for that outcome.
The dynamic of this endless never ceasing skirmish of punches almost every day since October 8th, that all the time has its own dynamic, resulting more and more escalation. There has been clearly red lines that both sides were very cautious and careful not to cross. But then on the other hand, you may find, for different reasons, you find yourself dragged into a whirlpool of dynamic that basically could result in slippery slope towards spinning out of control process that could result in the end of the day, a whole-out war.
Melamed says Hezbollah is Iran's favorite terrorist proxy, which is why the regime funds the group with hundreds of millions of dollars every year. It's enough financial and military support Hezbollah was able to oust Lebanon's internationally recognized government, turning the country into a failed state.
The Lebanese themselves are saying openly, we are kidnapped by the Hezbollah, and we are powerless and we are unable to change the situation.
Melamed says Iran needs a strong proxy in Lebanon so it can tighten its grip on the country beyond the point of no return, thus securing a foothold along the coast of the Mediterranean and a staging ground to launch attacks against Israel.
The other objective of Hezbollah is to be a kind of a card of a deterrence against any attempt of Israel or the West to attack Iran's strategic interests. Let's put it this way.
Hezbollah, Hamas, and other Iranian proxies make up the so-called Axis of Resistance. Melamed says the Axis is completely committed to its mission of the destruction of Israel above all else, which is why he says these groups are perfectly willing to put innocent people in harm's way if it means accomplishing the goal.
In the Western thought, you are not going to eliminate somebody else. You may have dispute, but you don't vote to eliminate somebody else. And in the Western mindset, the government's role, first and foremost, is to take care of the well-being of its people, not to sacrifice these people on the altar of whatever their agenda is. These are two things that Western mind fail to understand, because it's totally alien to the mindset of the West. But it has to be said, it has to be understood.
Which leads us to today, where as of publication, both Israel and Hezbollah appear poised to engage in a major conflict, the scale of which hasn't been seen in southern Lebanon since the 2006 Israeli invasion. Melamed says Iran and its Axis of Resistance are marathon runner enemies, though. They are patient, committed, well-funded, and increasingly better armed. So if Israel or any other nation really wants to defeat Iran and its Axis, Then Iran's notion of resistance needs to be defeated as well.
They are not going to compromise their ideology and understanding that they are working according to a long-term master plan. That master plan keeps all the time the eye on the target. It may have some diversions, it may have some slowdowns, but they have their eyes fixed on the target. Those who want to prevent this path needs to be willing to act proactively, decisively, to totally change that path. Now, there are potentially two ways to do that. One is a non-violent way, and the other one is violent way. The non-violent way is not working.